Hi everyone, welcome so much to our live Q&A today. We're writer, publisher and also journalist Sam Jordison. Really excited to have you here with us. My name's Kat, I'm joining you from Jericho Writers today, where Sam is a tutor on our Ultimate Novel Writing course and also our Creative Nonfiction course. Really excited to have him here with us so you can ask all your questions about writing, how to get published, what makes writing compelling in Sam's view, and all the kind of like things you would like to know or just kind of throw at us today. We're more than happy to kind of answer your questions and get into it. Really excited to have you here and have Sam joining us. So thank you so much, Sam, for being here today. So just a little bit of background info about Sam. So obviously, Sam's a publisher, author and journalist. He's the co-director of the award-winning Galley Beggar Press, which have published the likes of Lucy Almond's Ducks Newbury Port, which was longlisted for the Booker Prize, which is a fantastic piece of work, and also Alex Beebe's Mordew, another amazing novels. So do check those out if you haven't read them already. Sam himself has also written more than a dozen nonfiction titles, including the best-selling Craptown series. Again, a really great book looking at the folks who brought us Brexit and Trump. So quite a hard read if you're still a bit devastated by the current state of affairs, but a really, really interesting and insightful piece of work. So please do also check that out. As I mentioned, Sam's also a journalist, writing a lot for publications such as Guardian and also mostly about books as well as other kind of key topics of interest. So welcome, Sam. I'm so glad to have you here with us today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So could you kind of just, as we get into it, just talk to us a little bit about your kind of, it'd be great to kind of hear like both sides of the coin, because obviously you're a writer as well as a publisher. So maybe we get into the writing side of things a little bit first. And if you could talk to us a little bit about how you approach writing yourself, specifically writing creative nonfiction. I think sometimes there's this assumption that there's not that much room for creativity when writing nonfiction. So I think it would be good to kind of hear from your perspective how you find or utilize it as a creative outlet and how there is, you know, so much more scope for kind of like having that kind of artistic approach in your work as well when writing. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah, difficult question to start off with. There is room for creativity, and that's where a lot of the fun comes in. I mean, some of the books I write are hopefully funny, and so writing the jokes certainly tickles that, you know, that part of the brain where you're making something new and hopefully interesting and playing around with words. So you get that satisfaction. Quite often you have to form narratives, you have to relay conversations. So there's quite a lot of transferable skills between fiction and creative nonfiction, in fact. And what else do I want to say about my approach? I think the other thing is, you know, sometimes it goes smoothly and well, and you can write a book surprisingly quickly, but often it's hard. You know, I've been there, struggling, failing to get things published, failing to finish things, or working for a long time on something and finally getting that breakthrough. Yeah. So I know about those sides of the process and have a lot of sympathy for writers who are at various stages in their journey and wondering how to get to the next point. You know, I know that it's not easy, and I know that writing a book in and of itself is an achievement. It's, you know, it's a considerable thing to do. So I like supporting people in that.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Do you kind of have any kind of tried and trusted techniques that help you kind of break through that wall, as it were, if you are kind of struggling a little bit to kind of get things on the page?
I think it really depends what kind of struggle you're having. So it's not a question that I can just wave a wand and give a direct answer. I mean, very often a good technique is to walk away. So in my journalism in particular, for a long time, I used to write an article essentially every Friday, and I would spend most of Friday morning trying to write the first paragraph and failing to write it, and really kind of, tearing my hair.
Yeah.
And then I'd go for a walk at lunchtime, and things would sort of drift in because I'd been thinking about it all the time. But even that thinking that didn't feel particularly constructive, actually, somewhere in my head it was working. And you step away and you start thinking about other things, and quite often that, with gentle exercise, kind of helps things work. And then I'd get back to the desk, I'd write the first paragraph, then write the rest, then come back to the first paragraph I'd struggle over so much, and more than half the time delete it, because the thing that gets you going isn't necessarily the thing that keeps you going. So having that that willingness to step away, to rethink things, think of things in a different way, and to not be afraid to put something down that you're not going to keep, and also not be afraid to delete it. Very often the delete key is
I think a lot of writers can be quite precious, can't they, about anything they've written. They don't want to lose it in that respect.
No, it's hard. It's hard because you've spent a lot of time and effort and thought, and it kind of makes sense to you. It's hard to see through and get rid of things. That's where editing is useful as well, of course.
That's true, and I guess that's helpful from your end, obviously doing both. So you kind of know what it's like to kind of have to take that step back and really look at things from like a refined perspective. Great. And I guess just kind of then putting on your publisher's hat, and kind of like reversing the situation, what would then make a piece of writing stand out to you? So when you receive a manuscript in, or even I know your publishing house, Galley-Beggar Press, runs short story competitions. So when you're reviewing those pieces of work, what makes that just any kind of writing stand out for you?
Interesting question. Again, I'm gonna skirt around the edges a little bit, because of course every book is different, and that's what makes being a publisher so fascinating and interesting. So whatever it is that book, it's kind of a new thing, and maybe it's that newness that has a lot of the impact. We are quite a particular kind of publisher, so we're small, and we really love sentences, for instance, so beautifully written books, with surprising, finely crafted sentences. I suppose the classic example is Ducks Newburyport by Lucy Ellmann, which you mentioned, which is 1,000 pages long, and quite a big chunk of that 1,000 pages is a single, ongoing, unspooling, remarkable sentence. So that's the classic thing that we go for. That it just there has to be so much more. It's not just, certainly we don't just go for tricks. There's got to be something really solid behind it, and ideas and passion, and also we like stories. We're readers, and that's what. So when I say we, me and my co-director Louise Miller, that's what got us into the industry, got us into writing, and it's because we love books, and we always have, and ever since reading the famous Five when I was 5 or 6, and I just really enjoyed ploughing through a really good novel. So it's that enjoyment that we also latch onto.
Yeah, for sure. I think so much of the conversation nowadays, it seems like publishers are just looking for things that are guaranteed to be commercially successful. And that doesn't always translate into, great readability. So it's great, that your publishing house is really kind of, making sure that those kind of feelings are still preserved, because you want to enjoy reading, but you also you want to read something that's new and different and experimental, but purposefully, like it has a reason for being so. So I think it's great work that you're doing. So everyone, if you haven't checked out Sam's publishing house, Galley-Beggar Press, and its works, please do. I'll pop the link to the website in the chat in a bit. But do go check it out. we've had a question come in from Ferdinand. So he has asked, at the beginning of, I think, of your writing process, did you do anything to help expand your vocabulary, or kind of, I guess, work with your grammatical approach? Like, did that inform like your writing at all?
Yeah, interesting question. I think on a subconscious level, I did. I mean, I read an awful lot, which is the first and most important thing you can do. Read Dickens. You'll have a lot of fun doing it, and he will expand your mind and
For sure.
your ideas of what the language can do. In fact, Lucy Ellman, to bring her up again, that's the creative writing advice that she gives. She says an important thing: read Charles Dickens, read Shakespeare. Enjoy it and take pleasure in the words.
Yeah.
More specifically, I did a degree in classics, so Latin, and thinking about language and how it works. And then I did a postgraduate journalism master's where, again, you're kind of trained in ways of thinking about writing and writing news stories, getting to the point quickly. And so I thought about writing quite a lot. You don't have to do that stuff, and lots of writers don't do it. It's not. I mean, you do have to do the reading, but you don't have to do the Latin degree, for instance. So it's a good question, because it is important to think about these things, even if when you're actually faced with a blank page, you don't kind of put your training into direct practice. And if you did think about things in that way, you'd quite likely end up with something quite stilted and strange. But certainly having that kind of muscle memory almost of how to form sentences, and that is really important and useful.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it ties back to what you were saying earlier about, having these thoughts kind of like forming in the back of your mind, and they might not, come to the forefront like when you're actually writing, and then maybe it's only later once you see it on the page, you're like, oh, yeah, this was also informing that, and I didn't realize it until I read it back. But yeah, Ferdinand says thank you, and says Dickens, yes. So I think that's great advice. So just move on to one of our other questions about helping people. So you've said before that you really enjoy helping people to develop their craft, and you kind of you do work with writers at different stages of their career and at different points of the writing process. So obviously you run your publishing house, Galley Becker Press, but you also work with us Jericho writers as a tutor on both our ultimate novel writing course and the creative nonfiction course that you run as well. And it would be just really great to hear from you kind of like what your approach is. So if people want to sign up to the ultimate novel course, for example, they have to apply and ask you as their tutor to review the applications. So what you look for when reviewing these applications, and maybe how that differs a bit to when you're looking at a manuscript that's been submitted to your publishing house, for example.
Yeah, it's an interesting and hard to define difference in a way. I mean, when it's submitted to the publishing house, it's got to be something that we feel, yes, we can publish this. We can put it out in the world. It's ready, and it's ready for our publishing house, which is quite a small, narrow thing, really, because we only put out 2 or 3 books a year. So a book that's right for us is very different to a book that's right for the wider world. And when it comes to editing with something like the Ultimate Writing Course, I'm the publication is, I know it's, for writers, it's very much a hope that you'll have at the end, and it's certainly not impossible. And it's a great thing when you do see someone through to that. And recently there's someone I worked with in Jericho Writers who's in the bookseller. It's just the loveliest thing. And,
that's fantastic.
It makes you so happy, but it's not the thing that always happens. But even without that, you do see people really improve things and learn about their craft and build a platform that they can take on next, to their next project. And you develop a lot of transferable skills and things that will help them elsewhere in life, communicating with people, and all kinds of things. So it always feels useful. And to come back to the question, which I've kind of rambled away from, that I think I'm looking for things that I think I can work with, and where I can say something helpful that will help bring more out of the project. That's at the very beginner level, I suppose, and just looking for that potential. But there's a whole line along from there as well. It's really exciting when you see something you think, oh, this is, quite close, and a few nudges in this direction will help clarify a few ideas for the writer. And trying to make those kind of breakthroughs is also something I'd be really hoping to do as well. So there's a whole range, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people I think it's really hard sometimes just to kind of take that first step. And a lot of people just get intimidated by doing that. And
you're really right. And that's one of the things I like about this kind of course and university creative writing course is it gives people a motivation to push through that barrier you're talking about, that difficult thing of giving yourself the space to write and to allowing yourself to put the words on the page and spend that time, which is difficult time quite often. So sometimes it's tremendous fun, but not always. And even when it's fun, it's kind of mentally intense. And giving yourself that license to do it, and knowing that there's someone who will be there appreciating what you do, and kind of help, hopefully, I mean, I very much hope that what I'll be doing is kind of helping you over the next hurdle onto the next thing. And I hope that really gives people motivation, that when you're just by yourself, it's hard to do that.
Yeah, completely. I mean, writing is often, I guess, it is generally quite a lonely pursuit, isn't it? It's quite isolating at times. And I think the more you can kind of surround yourself with people who are kind of like helping you along that journey, I think, the easier the process almost becomes. Because although sometimes I think isolation is great for writing and you need those periods, I think it can be quite suffocating when it's, it's the whole process is completely, isolated. So I think, what you're doing is
writer
so
is
vital.
different as well, which is part of it, again, what makes doing editorial interesting. And some people do, the isolation is fine and they power through, not a problem, they have that confidence. But not everyone.
Fantastic. So welcome everyone if you've just joined us to our live Q&A event with Sam Jordison. If you've got any questions for Sam, please do drop them into the comments. Lovely to kind of hear from you. So any questions you have about writing or publishing or anything like that. In case you just missed the beginning of the conversation, Sam's a writer, a journalist, and also the director of publishing house Did it again, Galley Press. Sorry, I blame the heat. I'll just put the link to his website in the chat for you now, just so you can check it out, because it really is a fantastic publishing house and has produced some really phenomenal pieces of work. So do go and check that out. And I know your short story competition is coming up soon, correct?
Yes, that is true. We're hoping to launch it this Friday, in fact.
Ah, fantastic. Yeah, so if anyone out there has anything ready or almost ready for submission, do check out their website and submit. So
yes, please do. Yeah, it's a big thing for us. It's a really good way for us to find writers as part of it. And it's it's a big exciting thing, and it's grown a lot over the last few years. It kind of brings us a lot of kudos and attention, and brings a lot of kudos and attention to the writers who are in it, more importantly, and helps people find agents, find deals, and we like it.
Fantastic. Well, so do go check out the Galley Press website. Do apply. It could be the tipping point you need for getting your writing career off the ground, so you never know. But so just kind of just going back to kind of your approach, I guess, then a bit as a publisher and also as a tutor, what's your approach like when it comes to kind of working with new writers specifically? Like, do you find there's quite a lot of mentoring involved? Like, how do you like to kind of that relationship to work?
Yeah, there is quite a lot of mentoring. I mean, I see things work best when I'm the facilitator and the person who helps people think about things in a new way, or rethink certain ideas, or give an interesting direction, or point out what an outsider can do really helpfully, for instance, is notice little ticks in someone's writing that you just don't notice when you're there,
Yeah.
or the kind of thing that I notice in my own writing years later.
Yeah, and you're like, no.
Everyone has it. But to come back to the question, so I think I like doing that stuff, but also I think it works very well when the writer, you're your own person, and you're doing your own projects, and you have your own passion, and you have your own ideas, and going off and doing that is very often the best thing you can do. And so I'm there, and hopefully I'm helpful, but also you're there.
Yeah, it's kind of, I guess, quite a symbiotic relationship in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think it requires, I guess, like quite a lot of collaboration in the sense from like both sides, rather than you just kind of like hand holding the whole way through.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and there are definite concrete things you can do as a tutor. You can give people things to think about, writing prompts, and those can often be really creative and useful. But the really exciting thing is that very often some of the very best stuff comes from things you haven't quite thought of yourself.
Yeah.
Sorry, my dog in the background. But yeah, again, a bit of both, I guess, is the answer. There are things I can definitely do, but it's great when the writer does something. Writers are perpetually surprising and interesting, so that's fun.
Fantastic. And then I guess just kind of thinking specifically about the Ultimate Novel Writing course, which Sam is a tutor on, in case you're just joining us. I think we here at Jericho Writers, a lot of people are quite hesitant to apply because they think they need to have a finished manuscript. They think they need to be in that publishing ready position. But that's not necessarily the case. I guess, the point of the course is to help people from that, like, that initial kind of idea, that first draft, and get you to a point of having a publishable novel ready to submit to agents. And so I guess, like, from your perspective as a tutor, when people send in their applications, is there anything like in particular that will kind of make an application stand out to you and make you be like, yes, I really, really want to tutor that person?
I mean, in a sense, like in all the submissions I get, I'm hoping to be surprised, but certainly a sense of enthusiasm, and that the writer is going to enjoy the work and get something from it, and or that they have something that they really want to say, or a story they really want to tell, or that they just enjoy playing around in the sandbox and being creative, and perhaps even if the ideas are much less formed, there can still be something good that comes out of that. And to come back to what you were saying before, it's a year-long course, so and it really it gives a nice overview of the different stages of producing a manuscript, and it kind of goes from soup to nuts, as the saying goes. Pretty nice way. So it gives people the space to write that manuscript you were talking about. So you don't have to come with the complete thing. And sometimes even I imagine things will change while you're on the course, and the project will change for you, and you'll start going in a different direction and writing new things, and that's fine. So
Yeah.
It can really vary, of course, and there will be people who have got something that's nearly ready that they just want to really push as far as they can, but
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily have to be like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. I guess there's that room for kind of like exploration almost within the course itself as well. You don't, and although, you know, you're working towards having that, you know, publishable, ready kind of like product at the end, that doesn't necessarily have to be the case, but you'll still gain so much kind of like valuable information and insights, and, you know, have that experience of working with you. It was, you know, it will really prove to be a valuable time that you know you spend on this, hopefully. So
No, I'm
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, sure. And you also teach the creative nonfiction course at Jericho Writers. Could you just talk to us a little bit about that and what people can expect if they join that course with you?
Yeah, so I've been doing that for a few years, and it's always a lot of fun, and the people come with a huge variety of ideas and projects, and we do the concrete things, you know, ways of thinking about writing dialogue, and you know, useful things that give you the platform you can build from, but also we discuss the ideas that people are having in their project, and
Yeah.
you know, hone those, and hopefully shine interesting lights on, you know, things that people are interested in, and you know, it gives them the other thing I really like about it gives them a really good chance to discuss it with other people who are in the same situation, and
Yeah.
you know, so very often they form a little, you know, a nice community that kind of after the class is over, you know,
Yeah.
keeps going, and so that's really good. That's really nice.
Yeah, that is really nice. And again, helping to kind of, you know, grow that kind of, I guess, support group almost in a way of people, almost
Yeah,
like sounding board, like you can just, you know, throw ideas out to, and, you know, get that, yeah, support
yeah,
as you go along
that's
your
exactly right.
route.
And the other thing is, having the experience of showing people your writing, I think is really useful,
Yeah.
because you do have to show people your writing at some point if you want to be in a
Yeah.
position. It's quite a nerve-wracking, difficult thing outside the classroom, you know, when you're submitting to agents and publishers, and very often you don't hear anything as well from agents and publishers, so you never know what people are making of it, and you never quite know what you're doing wrong and right, and
Yeah.
you know, maybe you have this terrible worry that you've done something, you know, ridiculous, or which is very rarely the case. You know, as a publisher, I'm never thinking how absurd that someone thinks they can write a book.
Right. Yeah.
But you know, I can imagine that those thoughts can start to take over, and so being able to show people stuff in a classroom situation where you get useful feedback can be
Yeah.
positive for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's so valuable, and something I guess people don't always necessarily think of. They go straight to kind of submitting to agents, where it might be useful to just have that kind of, you know, small kind of just group of people who would just provide that feedback before you dive straight in. But yeah, and then just in terms of just hopping back to the Ultimate Novel course, which you are a tutor on, obviously you yourself write a lot of creative nonfiction, but you also, as a publisher, publish a lot of you know, different genres as well, you know, across contemporary literature. You like nonfiction, more kind of, I guess, literary fiction. So yeah, I guess what I'm saying is people shouldn't be put off just from looking, I guess, at your own catalogue of books, thinking, oh, you know, it needs to be more of a fiction, but you know, you really are interested in that as well. So just to kind of give you all a heads up that that's also something Sam is looking for in his applications. So if you are of the fiction side of things, please do send your applications through to Sam, and yeah, I'm sure I'm sure you'll be thrilled to receive them. I know you have a podcast as well, which is really exciting. So is that something you'd like to talk a little bit about? I know it's called Across the Pond with Laurie Feathers. I'll just pop the link for the show name and the link to the Spotify channel in the chat for everyone. But yeah, I guess it's a great way for people who are thinking about applying for the course to get to know you and what your tastes are and what you like, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we cover a really broad range of stuff on the podcast because we're interested in all kinds of things. So hopefully it will reinforce that idea. But also I hope it's really useful because very often we're interviewing writers about what they do, the decisions they make, and that is always fascinating and enlightening. So I hope it will be useful from that point of view to listen to the podcast too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to get in and blast through that, I'm sure. So yeah, do check it out, everyone. The link is in the chat, and you can also Google it if you're looking for it on iTunes or anything else. So yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, Sam. We've gone way over time. I think I didn't realize how much you get into this conversation. It's been so great speaking with you, and I hope everyone else has been able to get a little bit of an insight into you and your different outlets and what you're looking for as an ultimate novel tutor, and also if they're interested in finding out more about Galley Beggar Press, they can look for it on your website as well. So yeah, thank you so much. I'll just pop the link to the ultimate course in the chat for everyone. So in case you are interested in applying, please do check that out. And also make sure to follow Sam on Twitter as well. You can ask him any direct questions. You can also come to us if you've got any questions about the course itself. So yeah, it's been lovely speaking with you today, Sam. Thank you so much. Great. And yeah, and thank you everyone so much for joining us. I hope you found that as interesting as I did. And please do make sure to like and follow the page if you are interested in checking out any more of our upcoming live events, or like to find out more about the Ultimate Novel Writing course, which Sam will be tutoring on for us this year, which we're very excited about. So yeah, so that's it for today, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you here again soon, hopefully. Thank you so much, Sam.